Hello everybody, this is CynicalDoc and I am bringing you another audio commentary for WC replays. This replay is actually a 2 vs 2 replay this time. Last time I brought you a solo one for my first commentary, and this time I'm not playing in it. It does however have Undead in it, and I know you guys are getting sick and tired of Undead audio commentaries and replays and stuff like that, but I kind of apologize for that. They're definitely my best race, and if I were to do a commentary on anything else, it probably wouldn't be too good. Anyway, it's going to be Heretic.Order and Tower for Noob versus yu.ka and Lively Demon. And Tower for Noob and Heretic.Order are Smurf accounts, I believe. And the players that use them have so many different accounts that I'm not really going to bother going into their AKAs. I think they're pretty, like, around average style. I think it's Chaos Order and Psychotic are the two players. And the other team is actually the interesting part. And yu.ka is a level 7, so a level 16 team. But he's 85%. And on the other hand, it's with a Sorceress icon. On the other hand, we have Lively Demon, who is 79%, level 21 team, level 10 solo, and is a proud owner of a Jaina icon. And I actually ended up playing against Lively Demon today in a 4 vs 4 AT, and I got basically my ass handed to me. So, we're going to have this replay pause at the 45-second mark, and we're going to unpause it in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay, so here we have a Dual Undead team, and this is AT. So, you're probably thinking, no, what the hell are they thinking? Basically, the only strategy that really works exceedingly well with Dual Undead would be to rush, because they can get a lot of ghouls, they can get their Rod of Necromancy, they can go faster with Death Knight or Heal, they can sleep surround with Dreadlord, they can increase the number of units they have with the Crypt Lord, and just various strats that they can do early game. Once it gets in the late game, you start exploiting their weaknesses, such as like weak ghouls, so if you don't get up to abominations quickly enough, you got a problem there. Crypt Fiends work very well. They're probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, ranged unit in the game. However, they're not going to stand up without meat, and mid-game, before you get abominations, ghouls probably won't stand up. And as you can see, the human is, or I should say there is a human in the game, and if the human were to go with Blizzard and Flame Strike, or even the Mountain King with Clap, those ghouls are done for. So, what do? Well, in this case, we have Heretic.Order and Tower for Noob are going to be going with my own Bugmeister, and they will both be doing that. Here you see Lively Demon is scouting out the bases right now. He takes his Wisp, and nice move, just puts it right there at the tree, and it can't get attacked, as you'll see later on, I believe. Interesting to note, like I said before, Lively Demon does have a Jaina icon, and is playing Night Elf here, so might be a little bit of a change for him. I'm not quite sure how much Night Elf he's played on like other accounts and such. I didn't look at his account to see how much Night Elf he played either, but you gotta figure he's pretty well versed in the games. Played at least 1,500 games to get that Jaina icon, and like I said, has 79% win. So here you see the dreaded Keeper of the Grove harass, and we've got an Archmage and Footman's coming along as well. So, Tower for Noob's got his Crypt Lord. Now, the good thing here is that you got ghouls to try and face this off. And the ghouls are going to help a lot because, one, you got more units, and two, if you lose one, it's not that big of a deal, as opposed to Fiends where they're more expensive and they're easy targets for Entangle. So here the Keeper goes after the Acolyte, entangles one Acolyte, and that goes down, and goes straight for another one. Now, the Archmage managed to slip out that opening fairly easily. I thought maybe he'd get trapped in there, but I guess not. So here we've got Tower for Noob's ally teleporting in, and the teleport's not bad. They basically have that Keeper of the Grove trapped in there, and he's going to have to teleport, I believe. Well, maybe not. It's been a while since I've watched this replay. I watched it, and then I did my other audio commentary, and now I'm coming back to this one. But right now, focusing on the Crypt Lord. The Crypt Lord's going to take a while to go down, but it does go down fairly easily at the beginning of the game, just like the Tauren Chieftain. It really doesn't have too much armor. So that Keeper of the Grove was forced to teleport. And Tower for Noob here thinks that they've already lost the game. As you saw in the chat before, they were thinking that these players are really good. At the time, I don't think they realized that Lively Demon had that coveted Jaina icon yet. Okay, So, what I do remember from this is basically the two undeads are going to start out with ghouls, mainly. And, like I said, early game ghouls will work very well, especially here with the human going with the water elemental, so it's not going to be too big of a difference. And they'll be able to have lots of units. They'll have their beetles, because both Crypt Lords are going beetles with this. And they're not going to have to worry about too much of a money issue. They'll have lots of wood as well. And what they'll do is, as their Crypt Lords level up and get higher level beetles, they'll take and basically weed out the ghouls and go with fiends and let the Crypt Lords and the beetles do the tanking, which high level beetles are a much better tank. So here you can see red and blue are basically taking a guess at where pink is going to be. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't be doing that in case of the colors change, but Tower for Noob was creeping out the Goblin Merchant, and he actually gets creepjacked by Lively Demon and yu.ka. And he's saying, wow, good hack. Personally, I think that what happened was creeping patterns, first of all. You gotta figure, the first thing you're gonna do is go for the creeps directly outside your base. The next thing you're gonna go is the Goblin Merchant. Because I'd rather creep that merchant. It gives you a better item, and I think it's easier to take than those Hydras are. And then there's also the possibility that the Wisp was able to see him. I do have the Fog of War off, by the way. So, just a little bit of creeping right now. Let's just take a look at the other bases. Like I mentioned before, you got Lively Demon with those Ancients of War right at the top of the hill. And if anything tries to come in there, they're just going to take a swipe at it, and down they go. And ranged units specifically will take a lot of damage from them if they end up getting caught in there. Human, on the other hand, has an Arcane Tower. Very good placement for it. It will stop early rushes, simply because of the fact that you can only get one or two ghouls in there to attack it, and if they get a PM, or I should say peasant, in there to repair it first, you're going to be in trouble because you're not going to get that many ghouls to attack it at once. So here we have Lively Demon and yu.ka moving in on Tower for Noob space again. And because Chaos Order doesn't have his, or I should say Heretic.Order in this game, he doesn't have his CP, he's got to run it. And this map is nice because it's kind of small, it's easy to run it. Here we have the shop out in front, and it's just one of the prime targets, as most commentators will probably tell you, since it's got low hit points, and it's very necessary for the basically all races. So now they've got a nice little pincer here, they go, and the ghouls don't really stand up very well to the Huntresses, but when you outnumber them by so much, it will work really well. And there's really not much point in trying to micro the ghouls away from... Oh, that's a nice surround on the Keeper there, I just noticed that now. So that Keeper's going to go down because he was forced to teleport before. I just mentioned having so many units is that you can surround them. And if you're listening to the sounds right now, all I'm hearing right now are beetles dying. And they just kept dying over and over. And the Crypt Lords are just going to keep raising them, because they don't really cost that much mana, although it does look like one of the Crypt Lords is out of mana for it. And with that graveyard present, plus the corpses from the ghouls and stuff like that, it's going to be fairly easy. So, Red's forced to, or I should say, Lively Demon's forced to retreat, since he lost his Keeper of the Grove, and the human is forced to teleport. The nice part, as I was saying before, about having so many units, especially ghouls and beetles, is that you can get easy surrounds on if the heroes aren't being attended to properly. Now, as you can see, you've got Heretic.Order here is starting to work the fiends into his army, and Tower for Noob hasn't started on that yet. Both players are at tier 2 right now, and Tower for Noob is getting a slaughterhouse, so obviously statues are going to help you a lot. Here you notice that there was a wisp there, and he couldn't get to it to begin with, so they took it out with the Crypt Fiends. So at least that little scout's gone. Looking back at the other bases, you see that the Night Elf has an Ancient of Wind and an Ancient of Lore going up right now, and is reviving his hero. Second hero for him would be the Naga. Naga's a good hero. Doesn't work so well against this, in my opinion, simply because of the fact that with the number of units, Fork Lightning, I believe, only hits 3 units to begin with, then 4, then 5. You know, 5 is nice, but how often do you see level 3 Fork Lightning? Not very often. And Cold Arrows is going to be nice for sniping heroes, but as you're going to see here, I believe both players get the Death Knight as their second hero. You can see Tower for Noob has it right now. I believe, yes, Heretic.Order is getting his Death Knight as well. So the Crypt Lords are obviously going to be a target you don't want to touch, because it's going to take them way too long to take it down. And even if they do get the hit points down, it just gets a coil and it's back. Death Knights, if the players are smart, will keep them in the back of the army, maybe get Death Pack as a second skill at least on one of them, plus they can still coil each other, so those probably won't be going down either. So Cold Arrows really isn't going to do too much against this number of units. So here you got the army of the Undead coming in, and you get a nice little creep jack going on here, as the human and idle farmer is just going to start creeping that. Now here I don't agree with what Heretic.Order and Tower for Noob do, is they stop attacking the army and go for the creeps. So now the creeps are attacking them, the other army realizes this and comes back at them. So smart move by Lively Demon here, he went with Fork Lightning first. Like I said, Cold Arrows really isn't going to do too much. So a lot more units out here for the Undead right now, but they're going to be forced to retreat simply because of the fact that, you know, being hit on both sides, a lot of their units are very low health, and I don't think the Crypt Lords have very much mana either. So here you got a Mountain Giant out here now. Mountain Giant is basically a beast in this, because ghouls are not going to take it down quickly, and fiends, or any range, really don't take it down at all. So Taunt goes off to try and get focusing on that. Tower for Noob's complaining, I think he meant to TP there and it didn't work. So here they run, and Heretic.Order really didn't lose too much. Bolt goes off on that fiend to try and take it down, which they did, and it gives them Mountain King level 2, so that clap's going to be a pain in the ass. And yeah, that's the problem with playing with an ally that's the same race as you, is that you get the units mixed up, especially if you have like allied colors on and such like that. I actually played a 2 vs 2 AT game with Silk the other day, and it was 4 undeads in the game, and I tried to sleep my Dreadlord a couple times simply because I kept clicking on the wrong units and the colors weren't sticking in my head. I don't use allied colors, I don't know why, I can't stand them. Alright, so anyway, that Mountain Giant is basically a huge pain in the ass, because you can't take it down with ghouls, you can't take it down with range, so you need abominations to do it. So, if you start getting, I should say, it becomes a pain in the ass once it gets hardened skin. Early on, you can take it down with ghouls and such, especially if you can get Frenzy before they get hardened skin, it's going to go down. But abominations are really going to be what's going to take that down the best. And you're going to want to hope that they don't get too many of the abominations. Druids of the Talon basically help rape ghouls. Simple as that. Lots of times I'll see in solo basically mass archers with Druids of the Talon and then up to chimeras. And there's really nothing you do against that. You figure archers, you know, they die easily to ghouls, so you go, you know, mass ghouls. But then you've got the focus fire from the archers and then the fairy fire on them. They just take massive amounts of damage. And really you need mass area of effect. So basically like Nova, Impale, and Carrion and Swarm to be able to take them out. So now you've just got a little bit more creeping going on right now. If you look back at the bases, right now the Crypt Lord for Tower for Noob has just been revived. And he's getting a second Crypt right now. So he's got 50-50 food, so I think maybe he should put up another Ziggurat at this point in time as well. I don't think maybe he doesn't realize that he needs it. I know I have that problem a lot. On the other hand, we've got Heretic.Order, who's taking up the Black Citadel, while Tower for Noob is still at the Halls of the Dead and staying there. So we might be seeing some abominations. I think he gets a couple, I can't remember specifically. On the other hand, we've got, you know, the Fairy Dragons. Fairy Dragons are effective at taking down statues, but because the Undead don't use their casters very often, it's really not going to do too much more. However, if you have them and the Undead goes Necros, the Necros are screwed, because it hurts Necros more than it hurts Sorceresses, because of the mana difference between Raise Dead and Slow. So, I remember this part, and this is a crucial battle here. Now, Tower for Noob saw that the armies were basically sitting outside of his base, I believe. And then there's a beetle that got left behind the expansion, so now they know where they are, and they're in perfect position to get these two armies in a nice little pincer, as Heretic.Order is just finishing up the creeps now. Personally here, I probably would have bought like an invulnerability potion for my Death Knight. So he went with a Skull of Protection, which is an excellent item as well, giving you more armor, which is definitely something you'll need against the Druids of the Talon. So anyway, as you can see, they're getting ready for a pincer attack now. And as I was mentioning before, you got mostly fiends here. You got level 2 beetles, and we've got an excellent position for Heretic.Order right now. Most of his fiends are up on a hill. The riflemen are going to be missing, so that Skull of Protection goes off to give them even more armor. And then that clap was terrible. It only caught a couple of the fiends in that. On the other front, we've got web going off on the Fairy Dragons, but they are basically ripping the Obsidian statues a new one for Tower for Noob. At this point in time, I'd probably turn off auto gas on the statues, because you're going to lose them no matter what. So, right now you just want to focus on the different units. Now, Fiends are going to take down Huntresses and Sorks and Druids of the Talon very quickly. And good micro here, you saw Taunt goes off by the Mountain Giant, and Tower for Noob just, completely ignores it. He goes after other things, knowing that that Mountain Giant is not going to go down to the Fiends at all. So here, this pincer attack is just crushing these two because they didn't have their front lines on quite well. They had the tower, or not the tower, but the upper level advantage for Heretic.Order definitely helped him since the riflemen were missing quite a bit. And you lost a Death Knight here. You definitely don't want that to happen. It's definitely something that you're going to need to keep your heroes alive. But because with the Dual Undead, you still have one Death Knight out there, so as long as you keep that one alive, your heroes probably aren't going to go down. And see how long that Mountain Giant took. They had to actually surround it and be able to take that down. But definitely a victory for the Undead here. And right now it's just going to be cleanup. They know that they have the advantage and they're going to press it right now. And they also have to realize that Lively Demon and his ally yu.ka can see exactly what they're doing because of Fairy Fire, which lasts way too long in my opinion. But anyway, see that one Fairy Dragon gets left behind? I would have probably maybe webbed that and taken it down, but Lively Demon realizes that it's there, and I don't know what he does, he just kind of sets it off to the side. But you can see the massive size of this army, just because if you keep him alive with the Death Knight, the Crypt Lord basically is your meat plus its beetles. So you just keep summoning that. It's free. Granted, it gives experience. It doesn't give too much, kind of like skeletons and stuff, but it definitely will help you a lot. So here you can see that Arcane Tower is going to be a pain in the ass. It was focusing on the Crypt Lord, so bring the Crypt Lord back, and it breaks the target lock of the tower. And if you look, there's really nothing either player can do about stopping this army. So you got yu.ka he's got some sorcerers, some priests, and some rifles, but the sorcerers and the priests are going to get owned by the Fiends basically because decks are damage. And then what he should be doing here, basically the Night Elf should have brought Wisps to detonate, because detonate will own the strat, because you'll drain the mana from the Crypt Lord, and you'll get rid of all the beetles. And then also the priests could be dispelling, but the priests are only initiate. I don't understand why human players don't upgrade their casters. They have amazing abilities, and most human players I see just kind of leave them at initiate. Invisibility saves you from like the hero nuke and such like that. So right now you've got a destroyer in the air, and the destroyer has two options. You can go after the water elementals, which I would not suggest, or you can go after things like Fairy Fire, which is what I would suggest, because that's going to hurt your army a lot more. And you can see yu.ka was forced to call all of his peasants to militia here. He actually does have a Knight out, but the Knight's kind of trapped. That Death Knight ended up going, or not the Death Knight, the Archmage got trapped and went down as well. I believe that went down to a coil. So now, this is a mistake here. You got the Naga runs in, and it runs through the entire army. So that's just going to get focused on. It's basically surrounded now, and he can't get away. So they just waltzed right in there and said, "Here, beat on me." And Heretic.Order complied. So this is basically the end of the replay here, but like I said, you start off with the ghouls, and the ghouls are going to last only early game. They will not last in the middle game, and they will not last the late game, most definitely. And what Heretic.Order and Tower for Noob did here was they adapted to the situation, which is like basically something that I preached with that strat guide that Valander and I wrote up, the Bugmeister, is that you can change based on what your opponent is doing. For example, if you're up against a lot of unarmored units in a Night Elf, you get meat wagons, and meat wagons are amazing to take down those units. You keep your ghouls, you keep your beetles, obviously. You have a couple of fiends to focus on, dryads and such like that, and then you rain down from behind with the wagons. And if they try to go for the wagons, they got to go past your massive army in front of it, and it's just not going to work. And even if it does work and they do get the wagons, they've probably taken heavy, heavy losses. So there you have it. So talk to you later.